Hi everyone, I'm Martin Tagano III, and I'll be your speaker for this session about investing on mutual funds. Let me share my screen now. Just want to ask the participants if sino ho ang first time dito mag-attend ng seminar na ito or ng topic na ito, Investing in Mutual Funds. You can chat in po sa chat box natin kung sino po yung first-time attendees on this topic, investing in mutual funds. Ngayon naman po, I would like to ask kung sino po among our participants ang nag-i-invest na sa mutual funds. And third, gusto ko rin pong malaman, lalong-lalo na sa first-time attendees, if you hear the words mutual funds, ano ba yung unang pumapasok sa isip nyo? Ayan. I'll be your speaker for the session. I'm Martin Tagano III, and I'll be sharing to you my experience in the last 13 years investing in mutual funds. Ready na ho ba mag-start? A little background about myself. I've been with IMG for the last 13 years. I'm an associate financial planner and a certified financial educator. And on top of what I'm doing as a financial educator in IMG, also a licensed geologist. And since I am a believer of both financial and professional education, currently I'm on my MBA program in De La Salle University. This will be the flow of our discussion for this session. We'll go through each of this. First, we will be discussing the most important part, ano ba yung dahilan bakit tayo nag-i-invest? So let me know sa chat box, ano ba yung dahilan bakit gusto niyo mag-invest? Or kung nag-i-invest kayo, ano naman yung purpose or goal nyo sa pag-i-invest na yon? So that's very important. Parang ganyan din sa buhay natin, di ba? If it's very important to know our purpose or a reason, ganun din when it comes to investing in mutual funds. Common answers would be like retirement, education of our children, travel, put up charitable organization, etc. Then after knowing our reasons, what comes next is knowing our investor risk profile. This is very important. Ano ba yung risk na kaya nating itolerate? Okay pa ba tayo kahit ang market nag-down na by 50%? Kung hindi kaya, kaya pa ba kung 20%? Or baka hanggang 5% lang ang kaya nating itolerate. Then, knowing our investor risk profile, then we can classify ourselves as to what type of investor we are. Pwede ho tayong maging conservative or play safe. Pwede rin naman tayong maging aggressive or in between. Pwede ho tayong maging moderate type na investor. Then after knowing these three, yung reasons, our risk profile, and the type of investor that we are, we'll come now to defining ano pa talaga si mutual funds, paano siya nag-work, paano siya nag-ooperate. And under that, we'll be discussing the different classification or the different types of mutual funds. And also, we will be discussing anong advantages in investing in mutual funds. Kung may advantages, of course, we will also be discussing anong disadvantages niya. And as an application of what we will be learning on this session, I'll be also sharing to you paano tayo mag-open ng mutual fund account. Okay, first topic is to know ano yung dahilan bakit tayo mag-i-invest. Sige, pa-chat nga po dyan sa chat box natin kung bakit kayo mag-i-invest. Kung nag-i-invest na kayo, bakit kayo nag-i-invest? Or kung mag-i-invest pa lang, anong reasons nyo bakit kayo mag-invest? So there are two main reasons that why we invest. First of which is to beat inflation. If we will put our money in savings account, so right now, ang existing rates ng commercial banks like BPI, Metrobank, or BDO is 0.125%. And may withholding tax pa yan at 20% of the interest earned. If you will check, inflation rate is around 3 to 5%. So with that rate, inflation at 3% to 5% and the rate of savings account na 0.125%, lugi na tayo doon. Ang purchasing power ng pera reduces through time. Kung ang 1,000 noon, kung mag-groceries ka, marami kang nabibili. Right now, di ba, parang isang eco bag na lang yan na ang gaan-gaan. How much more 20 years from now? Baka ang 1,000, 2 items na lang yan sa groceries. Or just imagine 20 years ago, magkano ba yung pamasahe sa jeep or magkano yung flag down ng taxi? But before, as far as I remember, ang inabutan ko na pamasahe sa jeep was like 4 pesos. Ngayon, ang existing ata nasa 8 or 9 pesos. So, nagmamahal po ang presyo ng bilihin, kaya ang purchasing power ng pera natin ay bumababa through time. Unlike when we invested in mutual funds, at least we can outpace inflation. We can have financial instruments or type of mutual funds that could give us at least 3% or even higher than that. So that's the first reason, is to beat inflation. The second primary reason is to achieve our financial goals and dreams. So dito na papasok yung mga enumerate natin kanina. Most of you mentioned about retirement. Of course, lahat naman tayo, unless gustong-gusto mo talaga yung trabaho mo, gusto naman natin talaga mag-retire earlier. Ang operational definition natin ng retirement, it doesn't necessarily mean that we should reach 60 years old, and it also does not mean na kailangan nating tumigil sa pagtatrabaho. What do you mean by retirement is, as long as you have the money already to finance your retirement, you have the option na lang to work. But right now, ang pinaka-reason mo na is not the money, but the enjoyment or the fulfillment that you derive from working. Because most of us right now, we work for the money. We work because we need to. We must work because we have responsibilities to answer and basic needs to fulfill. So again, these are the two reasons the two primary reasons why we are investing. Number one is to beat inflation. Second is to realize our financial goals and dreams. So this is very important. We identify the reasons bakit natin gusto palaguin ang pera natin, and two elements involved, the when and the how. Diba? Every dream should have a deadline. When we know the time frame, example, I want to retire 10 years or 20 years from now. So yun yung when natin, 10 years or 20 years from now. If we targeted, so ang reason natin is retirement, example is to have 15 million in 20 years. So yung when natin is 20 years, ang reason natin is retirement. So yung how, madali na lang yan. So magko-compute tayo kung gusto natin 15 million in 20 years, magkano ba dapat ang i-invest natin on a monthly basis, and anong klase ng mutual fund natin siya i-invest. So ganun ka-importante na we should be definite. Parang pagta-travel din yan. You could not tell the airline na gusto ko pong magbiyahe sa abroad or sa ibang bansa. Wala namang bansa na abroad ang pangalan. So you should be definite. Kailan ang flight mo? Saan ka pupunta? Once we know those givens, madali. Alam natin kung anong airline ang sasakyan. Kung may stopover yan, malalaman natin. And yung flight duration. So the second important thing to do is to know our investor risk profile. No two persons are alike. So ganun din when it comes to investing. Hindi pwedeng sasabihin natin, sige, kung ano man yung plano mo, kukopyahin na lang. Ganun na rin sa akin. Bakit hindi to advisable? Kasi iba-iba tayo ng sitwasyon sa buhay, 'di ba? Iba yung goals natin, iba yung capacity natin to invest, iba yung time frame natin, iba-iba ang responsibilidad natin. So, financial planning works best on a personal level. So, this is why important it is na you have to sit down with someone and lay out your financial plan. Ba- Iba-iba yan. So, depende kung may family ka na or kung wala, kailan ka mag-aasawa, and going through the details, and anong plano mong anak, saan sila papaaralin, etc. So, dun pa lang sa mga detalye na yon, for sure, wala kang katulad. Again, this is important to note because there are no two investors who have exactly the same circumstances, financial goals, risk appetite, or time frame. So it's very important that you yourself should know anong klaseng risk profile meron ka. Just like when we are sick, 'di ba? Saan tayo pumupunta? 'Di ba? Sa doctor or sa isang clinic or hospital. If may problema sa utang or if may problema tayo sa pera, saan tayo pumupunta? Ang common answer would be sa pawn shop or sa Bombay. So we should not self-medicate. The advisable thing to do is to reach out to a finance professional, to a financial planner, somebody from IMG or a member of IMG. Kasi maganda to, advisable not to self-medicate because it's very important to have a point of view na outside. Because if you will be doing that to yourself, lalong-lalo na kung baguhan ka, usually hindi natin nasi-separate yung emotions. When it comes to money, mahirap kontrolin ang emotion. So that is something that we should be cautious of. So to separate our emotions and managing our money or planning our money, it's very important to have another person to guide us. And that person should be knowledgeable. To be successful in investing, it is a must to figure out what type of investor you are. So dito na papasok yung investment risk profile. Yan yung tatanungin mo sarili mo kung play safe ka ba, aggressive ka ba, or in between. In knowing our risk profile, these dimensions or elements should be identified. So these questions dapat itanong natin sa sarili natin. So first is, hanggang kailan ko ba balak mag-invest? Anong time frame ko? Is it like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years? Yung iba, kaagad-agad ang tanong, kailan ko pwedeng i-withdraw? Di ba? Hindi pa nga nag-i-invest, pull out or withdrawal na kaagad ang nasa isip. When we are talking about investing in mutual funds, most of the times, dapat ang time horizon natin is long term. When we speak of long term, we mean 5 years or longer. So again, ask yourselves, if you would invest, ilang taon mo siya balak? Then second is, ano ba yung preference mo? Would it be, when it comes to returns or yields, would it be preservation ng capital or tubo ng kapital mo? So it really depends on you. People towards their retirement would prefer capital preservation over growth. In contrast to young people, they are willing to take risk for the growth of their investment. Then, third dimension is liquidity. Ano ba yung definition ng liquidity? Di ba sa science natin ng elementary, ang liquid is it takes the shape of a container. If we're talking about liquidity, when it comes to money, ito yung ease or pagkadali na ma-convert mo yung asset mo to cash. So to better understand this definition, ano ba yung hindi liquid? So house or real estate is something which is not liquid because yung bahay natin ngayon, hindi pwedeng in one day ma-convert natin yan into cash. Kahit may sure buyer ka na, ang dami pang legal documents na kailangan. Magpipirmahan pa kayo, magko-compute ng capital gains tax, magki-clear ng paper, kung hindi clear ang titulo, may mga kung ano-ano pang documents or legal documents na kailangan i-accomplish. Through all that process, baka magbago na ng isip yung buyer mo. So liquidity is like a mutual fund. Since you have shares, it's easily convertible to cash. I-multiply lang later on, i-discuss natin yung tinatawag na net asset value per share. So when it comes to liquidity, ang mutual fund, pwedeng in 7 days, ma-convert ka agad yan into cash. This is a double-edged sword. Sa sobrang liquid naman ng mutual fund, yung iba natitempt na i-pull out prematurely. So, you ask yourself, gusto ko ba na kaagad-agad makukuha yung pera ko, ma-pull out, tapos cash na siya? Or would I prefer na medyo may limits para hindi ako matempt na i-pull out siya? Then fourth dimension is yung risk. So ano yung tamang timpla ng risk and reward na gusto mo? Of course, sa buhay, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. If you play it too safe, like sa bangko, the least the reward, di ba? Guaranteed yung 0.125%, pero technically that's guaranteed loss because inflation being at 3% or 5%. So saan ka komportable? Okay ka pa ba sa 30% paper loss or hanggang 10% lang or in between? So these 4 questions before opening a mutual fund, ask yourself this. Again, as a review, tatanungin natin sarili natin, gaano ko ba katagal na plano mag-invest? In terms of returns, ano ba yung preference ko? Capital preservation or nag-i-expect ako ng tubo from my capital? Gusto ko ba siya na easily convertible to cash? And ano yung risk? Ano yung timpla ng risk and reward na kaya mong i-tolerate? So these are the types of investors. So first, we have yung conservative. Sabi dyan, you want to preserve your savings and take advantage of investment opportunities and still reach your short-term goals as early as 1 to 3 years. So to better understand this, let's mention ano bang example ng short-term goals. Di ba pwedeng nagpe-prepare ka ng down payment on the equity of a real estate property like a condo. Na before ka mag-move in, kailangan mo ng 20% down. So, pwede na you have 36 months or 3 years to prepare for that. So, kesa sa savings account mo yan na 0.125%, why not put it sa fixed income or sa bond fund na pwedeng magbigay sa'yo ng 2% or 2 to 5% on the average. The guarantee is much higher than what the bank gives you. Moderate investor naman, you want the balance of capital growth and protection. You want to experience the best of both worlds. Hindi ka masyadong play safe, hindi ka naman masyadong aggressive. Ayaw mo nung masyadong mababa na interest, like 2 to 5%, pero ayaw mo namang risk masyado with a possibility of having returns higher than 20% on the average. So moderate ka. Ito yung klase ng tao or investor na kung tatanungin mo ng categorical na question na yes or no, ang sagot niya in between, either yes or no. Okay. Third type of investor is aggressive. So you are committed to investing for the long term, knowing that you may encounter market downturns along the way. So you have set aside enough for your short-term needs and have enough money for investing. So aggressive investor, dapat accepted mo na in the next 5 to 7 years, handa kang hindi makita yung pera mo or handa kang hindi siya galawin. Kasi magka-emergency man, meron ka ng buffer fund. Example, during this pandemic, ang daming, we could consider this as a big emergency. So kung aggressive investor ka, pero hindi ka naka-buffer fund or may emergency fund, delikado kung i-pull out mo during this time yung investment mo sa equities kasi mababa masyado ang net asset value per share ng mga equity funds. So aggressive investor, to become an aggressive investor, dapat may buffer fund ka muna Para may mangyari man na unexpected, hindi ka matitempt na i-pull out yung investment mo. So right now, dapat medyo clear na kayo kung anong klase kang investor. So conservative ka ba, moderate, or aggressive? Actually, yung classification ng pagiging investor, it does not mean na conservative ka na all throughout. Mas determining factor yung goal mo. Kung short term ba yan, medium term, or long term. So you have to define first kung ano yung goal mo, then kung ano yung example, you figured it out na long-term yung goal mo, then dapat i-match mo yan ng profile. So dapat aggressive ka when it comes to that financial goal. Kung short-term naman, then you have to adjust. Yung risk profile mo on that particular investment should be someone na conservative type. Investing in mutual funds can help individuals grow money even without having the time and expertise to do so. Ano yung context nito? Before kasi, ang investing, stereotype na pang mayaman lang or pang matatalino. Bakit? Diba, when you watch business channels like Bloomberg, CNN, mga business news channels, ang daming numbers, ang daming graphs, ang daming figures, ang daming terms na nakakalito. So, very intimidating, and you will just tell yourself, sige na, bahala na, or ayoko na mag-invest sa bangko na lang. But here in IMG, we really laymanize terms. And one of which is mutual fund. This is a type of investment or a type of financial instrument na kahit sino, kahit walang knowledge on investing, walang technical knowledge on investing, could enter to. Why? Later on, we'll find that out sa mga advantages niya. For right now, we have to understand na through mutual fund, meron nang nagmamanage for us. So, hindi mo kailangan ng oras, tutukan siya 24/7 or 9 hours a day. And at the same time, you need not to be an expert in investing just to invest in mutual funds. So in mutual funds, people can effectively invest their money in reputable instruments without the burden of having to study the different available financial instruments nor forcing the issue on timing the market. Hindi mo na aalalahanin kung ano bang kumpanya ang bibili ako ng shares, anong ibebenta ko, magkano, anong portion ng portfolio mo, those technicalities, those concerns, ibahala mo na yon, ipasa mo na sa mutual fund manager. And very important as well to notice yung naka-quote-unquote timing the market. A lot of people, sasabihin na, okay, ano daw, buy low, sell high. So, very simple, pero hindi yan ganun kasimple to be executed. Kasi minsan, madadala tayo ng emotions. So baka sa kaka-timing mo, hindi ka na maka-invest. So later on, we'll discuss that, tackling the concept of NABPS and money cost averaging. So let's now define what mutual fund is. If you hear the word mutual, ano ba yung nasa isip natin, di ba? Common na sabihin natin mutual understanding, mutual feelings, etc. So anong ibig sabihin ng bakit mutual fund? Before, para maka-invest ka sa stock market, you really need a big amount of money para mapansin ka ng broker. Say million or even millions. Kasi the broker would tell na it's not worth my time kung 500,000 lang or 1 million lang ipapamanage mo sa akin. So ang tanong, ilang Filipinos ang may 1 million or even higher than that na investable fund? Sobrang kokonti. So ang ginawa ni mutual fund, nilower niya. Sabihin natin 1,000 or 5,000. So ang tanong ngayon, ilang Filipinos ang pwedeng makapag-invest ng as low as 1,000 pesos? A lot, di ba? Those 1,000s, if i-pool natin, could create million or even millions or sometimes reaching to billion. So with that amount of money, may fund manager na ngayon na willing to manage or pooled funds. So mutual fund, therefore, it is an investment company na iko-kolekta yung mga tig 1,000 natin or tig 5,000, tapos sila na bahala kung saan siya i-invest depending on the type of mutual fund or depending on the type of mutual fund na minamanage nila. So sila na ang bahala kung anong templa ng portfolio. So stocks ba ang bibilhin nila, bonds, money market instruments, or pwedeng combination dong tatlo na to. So all of those technicalities na pag-mix, saan i-invest, paano i-monitor, sa mutual fund, kung nasa mutual fund na tayo, hindi na natin siya aalalahanin. Kasi trabaho na yun ng mutual fund managers. Paano siya nag-work? So, tayo yung investors dito. So, we contribute as low as 1,000 pesos kung IMG member ka. Then, this money, this amount of money will be pooled. So, yung pooled amount of money, pupunta kay mutual fund. Then, yung money fund or yung fund manager, yung fund manager, siya yung magde-decide kung anong klaseng or saang investment products niya i-invest. So it could be either stocks or equities. If we talk about stocks, yan yung mga blue chip or publicly listed companies. Bonds naman, ito yung mga usually mga government securities or treasury bills, treasury notes. Then money market, ito naman yung shorter term pa than bond funds. Then investing in these instruments will generate returns. Then these returns would be passed back to the investors accordingly or commensurately dun sa capital mo or sa shares mo. So kung ang return sabihin natin 20%, that's across the board. Unlike sa savings account, it depends on kung naka-time deposit ka ba, ilang million ba yan. So, nag-iiba-iba yung interest. Sa mutual fund, across the board, mapa-billion man, million, or 5,000 ka, para pareho kayo ng interest na imo-multiply doon sa capital mo. So, paano yung mix? Sinasabi natin kanina na si fund manager ang magde-decide ng portfolio mix. Ang maganda sa mutual fund, just imagine yung 1,000 pesos mo could be spread or diversified into these types of industries. Merong food and beverage, merong cash, the bank, yan yung BDO, BPI, Metrobank, excuse me. Andyan din ang holding companies like JJ Summit. Andyan din ang telecommunications like PLDT Globe, utilities, so Manila Water, Meralco, communication or media. So we have GMA, retail, so we have 7-Eleven, real estate, we have Ayala Land, food and beverage, we have Jollibee. So just imagine with just 1,000 pesos, meron ka na, technically, you are part owner of this blue chip or publicly listed companies. Unlike if sabihin natin wala si mutual fund, what if mag-approach ka ng stockbroker? Sasabihin mo, stockbroker, pa-invest naman itong 1,000 pesos ko. Papansinin ka ba niya? Likely hindi. Baka sabihin lang sa'yo, iskay, pang merienda mo na yung 1,000 na yan. So again, that's the advantage. That's one of the advantages of mutual funds. For as low as 1,000 pesos, technically, you have investments on these giant companies. In mutual fund, may tinatawag tayo na net asset value per share. So simply put, yan yung tinatawag na price per share of a mutual fund. So to better understand yung concept ng NAVPS, di ba, if you will view graphs, ang stock market, hindi siya plateau, hindi siya flat, hindi siya perfectly flat. Yung fluctuation na yon or yung volatility na yon is accounted by nung pag-change nung net asset value per share. So kung ang kumpanya nagpe-perform well, so yung valuation niya would be increasing. If hindi nagpe-perform ng maganda, that would go down. So magre-recover ulit, magpe-perform ulit ng maayos, so tataas. Then again, bababa, taas, baba. Kaya nakikita natin yung mga spikes or up and down ng mga linya sa stock market. So paano siya nag-work? Sa mutual funds, ito yung features niya. Number one, you are a part owner. Unlike sa bank account or sa savings account, ang tawag sa atin ay depositor. So as a depositor, you have no right to ask, di ba? What if nag-deposit ka sa bangko, sabihin natin kay BPI, you cannot ask the teller na, teller, sabihin mo naman sa akin kung yung saan nyo i-invest yung 10,000 pesos na dineposit ko. Mawala yan sa kontrata, na may karapatan ka to know where will they put that money or where will they invest that money. Sa mutual fund, you are the owner. You are a part owner of the mutual fund company. A part owner of the companies kung saan ini-invest ni mutual fund yung ini-invest natin. But then, you have to take note na yung ownership does not equate to control. Diba? Hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na, okay, part owner naman ako ng Jollibee. So, dapat may take ako on the decisions of the company kung ano yung future plans niya or sa mga business decisions niya. Of course, it really depends kung ilan shares out of the total volume ang meron ka. So, kung mas malaki yan or significant yung portion, then you have control. Otherwise, wala. But then, kahit walang control na yan, compared naman being a depositor, much better na yung maging part owner. Kasi as part owner, you have the right to ask, saan ba ini-invest yung ini-invest ko dito sa mutual fund na to? We have this document, so-called prospectus, halos lahat ng details nandun na. Ilang portion ang ini-invest sa ganitong industry, ilang portion ang ini-invest sa ganitong kumpanya, and anong historical performance niya. Then also in mutual funds, ang nangyayari dito is every time you invest, nire-reciprocate siya ng number of shares. So, we really encourage people to continuously invest. Hindi lang yung one time nag-invest siya lang, wala nang sumunod. Kasi every time you add up or every time you top up sa mutual fund mo, dumadagdag din yung number of shares mo. Then this should be long-term. Most of the times, or sabihin natin na recommended na long-term, para maramdaman mo yung sinasabing compounding interest, dapat yung time frame natin when we are investing in mutual funds should be long-term. When we talk about long-term, it should be at least 5 years. So again, the 3 key features of mutual funds, number 1, it's ownership, accumulation or of shares or number of shares, then it should be long-term. To better understand yung concept ng NABPS, may technique na tinatawag ng money cost averaging. So this technique would tell us yung common question, ano ba yung mas okay, isang bagsakan or pa konti-konti? Let's take a look at the example. So month 1, ang monthly investment niya is 100 pesos. This is just an example because in reality, hindi pwedeng 100 lang. Minimum investment sa mutual fund is I think 500 or 1,000 pesos. So just for the sake of example, 100 pesos, ang price per share ng mutual fund is 100 pesos. So we just divide to determine the number of shares that we will be able to purchase. So at 100 pesos divided by 100, so that would be 1 share. On the second month, however, bumaba yung price per share niya ng 50%. So from 100, naging 50. But the good thing is, with the same amount of contribution, dumoble yung number of shares na nabili mo. On the next month, nangalahati ulit. So with the same number of contribution or investment, naging 4 shares yung nabili mo. Then, the following month, bumaba pa siya 20 pesos. So, you were able to have 5 shares. Nag-pick up ng konti, bumalik sa 25. So, 4 shares again. Then, bumalik sa 50. Then, you have additional 2 shares. Paano nagko-compute if mag-withdraw ka or mag-redeem sa mutual fund? So, the computation of the market value would be like this. The total number of shares that you have accumulated, so in this case, you have 18 total number of shares, times the NABPS or the net asset value per share at the time that you will pull out or you will redeem. So in this example, it will be 18 shares times 50 pesos per share, giving us 900 pesos. If we will add up, yung total contribution mo would just be 600. So in return, you were able to gain 300 pesos in 6 months. Unlike, for example, just on the first month, binuhos mo na kaagad yung 600. So 600 divided by 100 is equal to 6. So that would be only 6 shares times 50, 300. So instead na kumita ka ng 300, naging dugi mo. Kasi 600 yung ininvest mo, pero nung niredeem mo siya, ang market value lang is 300. So again, it's better na maging consistent ka na as much as possible every month, may hinuhulog ka or dinadagdag mo siya. And this will bring us yung na-mention natin kanina. So time na timing is your ally in building wealth. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, ay, hintayin ko na lang yung market na bumaba para mas maraming number of shares akong mabili. I remember at the time, 2016 or 2014, kasi nag-start ako sa PhilEquity, ang NABPS niya, may mga nakuha pa akong 6, 12, 10, mga ganon. So when I asked my office mates to start investing in PhilEquity, alam nila na nakakuha ko ng NABPS na ganun kababa. So during that time, when I encouraged them, ang NABPS na ng PhilEquity is nasa 16. So sabi na nila sa akin, Marjun, hintayin natin na at least man lang bumaba sa 12 or sa 10 pesos. Para nako-compare kasi nila na may nakuha talaga ako ng 8 pesos or 6 pesos per share sa PhilEquity. So, in short, tinatimingan nila na bumaba yung market. So, sa kakahintay na bumaba, hindi tuloy nakapag-invest, hindi tuloy na dagdagan yung number of shares or nagka-shares. Ganun ka-importante ang time instead of timing. So ngayon, ang PhilEquity, even nagka-pandemya, no, close to 30 pesos pa rin. So anong ibig sabihin yan? I-project mo 30 years from now, kahit magka-pandemic pa or magka-crisis, ang general trend niya ng line is really going up. So again, consistency is the key. Whether the market is up or down, dagdag ka lang ng dagdag. So these are the types of mutual funds. So first, we have the so-called stock funds or equity funds. Ito yung type of mutual fund na ini-invest sa yung mga pinakita ko kanina na companies like Jollibee, Meralco, BDO. Ito yung mga tinatawag na blue chip or publicly listed companies. So as publicly listed companies or stock funds, ang fluctuation nito very abrupt. So kumbaga, if you would illustrate it in a graph, yun yung mga spikes, ups, downs, etc. Unlike sa bond funds, ito yung almost flat. Hindi siya perfectly flat, pero yung pag-fluctuate niya minimal compared sa stocks. Ang bond funds naman, saan ini-invest ng fund manager? So ini-invest siya sa government securities, treasury bills, commercial papers, T-notes. Bakit siya minsan tinatawag na fixed income? Kasi like, say for example, si Land Bank or si DPWH magre-release ng bonds. Sa certificates, usually naka-indicate na yung returns. Say 3.5% in 3 years or 3.5% in a year. Balance funds naman is a mix of stock funds and bond funds. So hybrid. Ito yung sinasabi natin kanina na you want to have the best of both worlds. Ini-invest siya part, I think 50-50. 50% sa stocks, 50% sa bonds. Meron din tayong tinatawag na money market funds. Shorter term to compared sa bond fund. Shorter pa kasi short na yung bond fund, diba? Ito naman is minsan may mga a month or 2 months. Usually corporation ang nagte-take advantage nito. Kasi sabihin man natin kahit 1% yan in 1 month, pero kung ang capital mo naman ay billion, 1% ng 1 billion, medyo malaki pa rin yon compared sa 1% lang ng 1,000 or ng 5,000. So again, go back to your reason, ano ba yung goal mo in investing, tapos anong risk profile mo, then tahi na yan kung anong type of mutual fund mo siya i-invest accordingly to your goal. Then some reminders, very important to have proper matching. Again, always go back to your reason or goal, bakit ka mag-i-invest, then ima-match mo siya. Example, one of your reasons is retirement. You would retire 15 years from now. So that's long term. Hindi mo pwedeng i-bond fund siya. Kasi kung ang bond fund, ang average return ay 2 to 5%, tapos ang inflation ganun din, halos wala kang kikitain. Or another example, what if ang goal mo is college education ng anak mo? Tapos binan-fund mo siya, ang inflation ng educational expenses is much higher compared sa economic inflation. So, hindi ma-realize yung goal mo dun sa anak mo. Baka yung pagtaas ng tuition, 10% a year, tapos yung kinita lang ng bond fund mo is 2% or 3% a year. Kung long term yan, so dapat long term din. Likely, dapat sa equity or sa stocks mo siya nilagay. Kung retirement or sa college education. Kung short term na naman, like buffer fund, emergency fund, or down payment for a property, kung short term yan, so dapat sa short term facilities din, like money market or bond fund. Then, very important also to have, again, an outside perspective kasi challenging talaga na i-separate ang emotions when it comes to money. If you are an IMG member, so seek the help of your SMD or your CEO. Pwede mo rin naman siyang gawin, do it yourself as you encourage it. Pero as a starter, magsisimula ka muna with a professional help para i-guide ka. Your SMD or your CEO, matagal na yung nag-i-invest, so at least ipapass on na niya sa inyo yung ginawa niya before. So it is very crucial for investors, yun, lalong-lalo na if first time mo, na mag-guide ka kung anong klaseng mutual fund ang dapat i-open mo. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na isang type lang. Again, if you have multiple goals, pwedeng iba-iba rin naman na type ng mutual funds ang pwede mong i-open. And these are the advantages of investing in mutual funds. So number one, we have professional management. Since pinul natin yung may economies of scale na tinatawag, so with a lot of participants of a lot of investors contributing each to the entirety of the fund, we could afford na magkaroon ng full-time professional fund managers para laruin or pakitain yung investment natin. Then second, low capital requirement. If you're an IMG member, automatically, di ba, sa membership mo, kaagad-agad may 1,000 equivalent ka na from Soldivo's Strategic Growth Funds. Or if non-member ka, I think 1,000 pesos you can open. But I would really encourage you to become an IMG member kasi later on, I'll be mentioning yung mga benefits when it comes to mutual fund investing kung IMG member ka. Then third advantage is great equalizer. So the rate of return across the board equal yan. 1,000 sa'yo, 5,000 sa kanya, million yung kakilala mo. Kung ang returns na ganito, pare-pareho tayong returns. Walang special treatment. Then it's diversified. So just imagine yung 1,000 pesos mo, technically, you're part owner of Jollibee, part owner of Ayala, BDO, diba? Then liquidity. Since you buy shares directly from the mutual fund, they are redeemable and can be readily be sold back to the fund. But then again, disadvantage, huwag nyo namang i-abuse na baka sa sobrang liquid, pull out kayo ng pull out. Then, another advantage is safety. So, mutual funds are highly regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission under the Investment Company Act and its implementing rules. May mga measures na ini-impose. Like for this particular industry, ito lang yung maximum percentage na pwede yung i-invest. Hindi pwedeng 90% sa real estate. What if bumagsak yung real estate industry? And may limit na nga on the industry, may limit pa rin per company. So, ganun ka rigid yung rules just to ensure safety in mutual fund investing. Then of course, mutual funds offer potentially higher returns because as a single portfolio, yung tinatawag na economies of scale na meron, we could afford to have full-time money managers. And with the pooled amount of money, yung amount sa sobrang laki, kumbaga may buying power siya. Then convenience. Ngayon with the pandemic, pwede na tayong mag-open ng mutual fund online. Ang alam ko, ang hindi lang pwede is kung foreign currency. Ganun din sa pag-top up or sa subsequent investment mo, pwede mo siyang gawin online. E-wallet or bank transfer, bills payment, etc. Then, another advantage, kasi sa US, hindi siya masyadong in-encourage kasi doon taxed siya. So, dito sa Pilipinas, wala siyang tax. Kung ang redeemed amount mo 1,000 or 10,000 pesos, that's 10,000. Walang deduction. Of course, kung may advantages, may disadvantages din. Number one, returns are not guaranteed. So there are risks involved. Pero sort of guaranteed na mas malaki siya kaysa sa interest ng bangko. But then again, hindi yan guaranteed na sasabihin sa'yo na, okay, guaranteed to na 20% a year. Hindi po yun mutual fund. So baka scam yun. Ang guarantee lang natin dito is, ask yourself, sa tingin mo ba magko-close yung mga kumpanya kung saan ini-invest yung pera natin? Magko-close ba si Meralco, si PLDT, si Cebu Pacific, si Robinson, si Ayala ng magko-close ba yung mga yon? Siguro may mag-close man doon na isa, hindi naman magko-close lahat. 'Di ba? Nag-close si ABS, nandiyan pa rin si GMA, or mag-close man si GMA, ang dami pa rin kumpanya na open. And another disadvantage is management fee. Usually, ang charge ng mutual fund companies nasa 2 to 3.5%. Sabihin natin kung 3.5%, example sa PhilEquity, ganun yung management fee niya. Kung mag-i-invest ka ng 10,000, less 3.5% of that, so 350. So 9,650 na lang yung ipapambili ng shares. Hindi lang siya sa initial, every time you top up, may 3.5% pa rin na management fee. So why not become an IMG member para wala na. I mean, zero load benefits for life. Kasi kung i-accumulate mo rin yung kaka 3.5%, sa 100,000 mo, 3.5 na yun. Mag-member ka na ng IMG. So with all the concepts that we learned, dapat i-apply natin yan. Sa mga wala pang mutual fund, kailangan nating mag-open kasi magandang, excuse me, magandang pakinggan yung concept ng investing, magandang pakinggan yung part owner ka or stakeholder ka or stockholder ka. Pero dapat i-realize natin, i-apply natin. So paano ba mag-open ng mutual fund? So first is, very important to know yourself. Again, go back. Ano ba yung mga financial goals mo? Ano yung financial dreams mo? Ano yung investment risk profile mo? Yung time frame mo, etc. So knowing all those things, we can proceed now to getting recommendation from a professional. So seek an IMG member, seek your CEO, or if you are already an IMG member, para i-lay out yung financial strategy mo when it comes to investing in mutual funds. Then third, you can fill out investment forms and submit. You can, for the forms, you can visit the website of Ramver Financials. Halos lahat ng forms na kailangan ando na. And never forget, wag lang initial, kailangan mag-top up para maramdaman natin yung effect ng compounding interest. If you are an IMG member, so yung investment, yung third column, iyan lahat ng hawak natin. So we have Soldivo, Philam Assets, PhilEquity, Atram, First Metro, and Sun Life mutual funds. Again, we really encourage na for you to become a member para later on then you can do it yourself technique when it comes to investing. Of course, as a starter, kailangan mo ng guide, pero when you get the feel of it, when you get the hang of it, kayang-kaya mo na siya gawin at your own. Again, IMG is a total financial solution company. So yung investing na to, yung number 5, yan yung sakop ni mutual fund. Again, yung two primary reasons na na-mention natin at the beginning of this talk, we invest in mutual funds to outpace inflation and minimize taxation and achieve our financial goals. When you become an IMG member, ito yung mga benefits natin. So again, sa one-time membership fee na 5,500, kung nasa Philippines ka, 1,000 of that may equivalent ng 1,000 pesos, meron ka na kaagad shares ng Soldivo Strategic Growth Fund. And then again, one of my favorites, 0% entry fee tayo or zero load fees tayo for life. So, last reminders, number 1, be consistent. So again, time, not timing. Consistently invest. Whether the market is up or down, dagdag ka lang ng dagdag. Treat your investment as one of your utility bills, 'di ba? Isipin mo lang na parang si Meralco 'yan or si MWSS or si Nawasa, depende kung nasaan ka, na kailangan mo magbayad whether you want it or not. So, ganun din dapat when it comes to our investing. Kailangan mo magdagdag whether you want it or not. Otherwise, magiging miserable ang post-retirement natin. So, consistently invest to fulfill your financial goals at your target time horizon. Investing consistently or regularly helps us to manage and maximize the ups and downs in the market. So every month ka naglalagay, well represented yung market. Meron kang mababang NABPS, meron kang mataas, meron kang mababa, meron kang in between, etc. Then, this is very important so that we should be consistent, enjoy the process. Kasi kung siguro acceptable naman na in the first 3 months, 'di ba, medyo challenging kasi naninibago ka lalong-lalo na kung spender ka before. Pero to be able to consistently invest, we should really enjoy the process. Ano ba yung technique para ma-enjoy mo siya? Unang-una, wag mong isipin na mahirap. 'Di ba kasi kung mahirap na yung isang bagay, isipin mo na mahirap, nagiging doble or triple siya na mahirap. So it's all in the mindset. Kung iisipin mo na, okay, mag-i-invest ako, I may sacrifice now, but I would really enjoy later kasi napaghandaan yung retirement. Diba? You look forward. So looking forward to a bright future or a very good retirement life, ba i-enjoy mo yung proseso. Sige, enjoy ko mag-invest kasi alam ko naman na later on, mas ma-enjoy ko yung benefits ng ginagawa ko. Or another technique is this. Dati noon, sobrang napapagod talaga ako when I swim. But when I attended swimming lesson, sabi ng teacher namin, okay, the key technique in swimming is yung breathing. So and para ma-execute mo yung proper breathing, dapat relax ka. And for you to be relaxed, sabi sa amin, just imagine na you're dancing in the water. So, 'di ba parang 'di ba kung isipin mo na sumasayaw ka lang sa tubig, parang enjoy, relax yung muscles mo, okay yung breathing mo, so hindi ka napapagod. So, ganun din dapat when it comes to investing. Imaginein mo lang na you pay it forward na walang tapon sa ini-invest mo ngayon kasi ang returns niya later on triple or even higher than that. After all, retirement means enjoying the fruits of your labor during your productive years. Otherwise kasi kung hindi talaga tayong maghanda sa retirement, pwedeng yung retirement natin, pwedeng maging nightmare yan or pwede talagang pinaka-miserableng parte ng buhay natin. And of course, we don't want that to happen. So again, feel that investing as an enjoyable and fulfilling activity, not a painful process na inuobliga ka to make a sacrifice. Kasi if this is how you perceive it, hindi mo siya um, hindi mo siya uulitin. Na kung pini-perceive mo siya na mahirap, hindi mo siya uulitin. If you see it as enjoyable, you tend to repeat it. Yung iba nga sa IMG parang nakaka-addict daw mag-invest. Or if matagal ka narito just like us, parang makokonsensya ka kung may month na lumipas na wala kang naidagdag sa investment portfolio mo. So with that, thank you very much. Again, I'm Martin Tacano III. If you want to get in touch, pwede niyong kunin yung QR code, pwede niyong picturean or scan nyo. Then I would really appreciate if you can visit my page, the IMG Wealth Builders, and also my YouTube channel. May mga videos ako na uploaded about personal financial planning. So with that, thank you very much, and we can entertain now three or maximum five questions.